Yeah, it was an amazing finish. A lot of courage. Tough day from the standpoint of we couldn't really get much going. I think the story, though, for me and really across 3 days was just the exceptional way that we pitched. 27 innings, of which 23 were shutout innings. We only scored in 4 innings. Brian, after the homer, locked it in. Drew Blake was fabulous. It was in both of his outings. Isaac's escape ability in the ninth was obviously what allowed our ninth inning to unfold the way that it did. But Coach Walt did an amazing job. It really just fun to watch a pitching staff come together that is essentially an entirely new staff. And never have I remember having to replace so many innings from the previous year. And so I thought our pitching was the story. Our defense behind it was important. And then our toughness and resiliency to stay with it, even though at times during the first 8 innings we had opportunities and then got a little sped up. It was huge. And then team guys really made the whole thing flip. Atkinson's homer, he's the glue that keeps the team together. Brennan coming off the bench and delivering a huge base hit. Disciplined at bats by Rock. Disciplined at bats by Dave. Not trying to be heroes, but rather have good at bats, which led to the bases loaded situation. Once the wild pitch happened and the game was tied, I knew in my heart that we had kind of gained the leverage we needed to win right there. I think when you're on the pitching and defense side, when you have the 1-run lead, there's still some wiggle room. When the game gets tied, though, and guys get moved up into positions like that, and in particular, a pitcher that throws that hard with that nasty slider, you're less likely to throw your slider for fear of bouncing it, and you're more likely to try to win with your fastball. And Nolan Schubert has been pretty remarkable for any age player, but for a freshman to poise himself. When he called timeout there, that was the sign for me that he felt he wasn't quite ready, and he knew to be disciplined enough to get ready. And then he stepped in and delivered. So it's just a tremendous win, and it was really a great series, especially after losing game 1. So numerous points, but man, if you didn't like the way we pitched and the way we hung in there, then you probably don't like baseball.
Josh, you talk about glue guys. How pivotal and vital are having glue guys like Brendan Holt to start off the 9th inning like he did?
Well, I mean, Brendan's an important part of this team. His number of reps hasn't maybe been there as much as he would like, but his quality of reps continues to grow, and he's going to have a very important role with this team moving forward. So he's gotten better as the year's gone on, and that's a compliment to him. We're a different team right now with all the injuries, so we're having to bring our boys back into the fold who've been injured, get them back to 100%, and then learn some new roles and adjust due to some of the injuries. So that's why you have quality roster and depth. And I don't bring up injuries because you make excuses, but they are facts. I mean, you guys watch the game, you know who's in the lineup and who isn't. So you pull, the guys in the lineup, and maybe are finding themselves in new situations that they have not seen just yet. And so we've got to grow into those situations, and Brendan's doing that, and it's good to get Zach Earhart re-engaged. He's been such a huge part of our team both last year and earlier this year before his injury, and he'll get back to it. He's just still working out the rust of being out for 5 weeks with a pretty substantial injury. So all the kids matter.
Going back to Schubert, you kind of gave yourself good karma earlier in the week when you commended his maturity and growth just as a freshman. It's something you don't see all the time. And then today he comes out, and you even spoke about a point where he didn't feel he was ready, and then he takes that time out. Do you think that you saw just that maturity that you spoke about earlier in the week in his plate discipline in the 9th inning?
Yes, absolutely. You look at the pitches he took, and you look at the ones he swung at, and they were correct. And when you have talent, which he does, and you have elite bat speed, and just a crazy frame from which the bat is delivered, and you swing at the right pitches, I mean, good recipe. So I compliment him. He handled himself in the moment beautifully, the way you would hope your players would. Good for him. Good for our team.
I remember in the fall, you guys can stop talking about how offensively savvy Tyler Wolford was. I know he had a slow start to the year, but are you starting to see that kind of fall version of Tyler lately?
Yes. Listen, I think when you come out of the chute, which we did, first weekend in Arlington, we saw some elite pitching. We hadn't, I don't think, quite honestly, we weren't as ready for weekend one as I would like to have been, but based on weather and the number of days to get ready to play, some of the hitters were still finding their swings early. He was one of those guys. We knew when he found his swing, it would be a good swing. Then he goes on the shelf with a quad injury, which he's still playing through. So he just never had quite that chance to get those rhythms and those box mannerisms and all the things going to being a great hitter reestablished in the second semester. He did it in the first semester, and he'll continue to do it. But his bang per at bat in conference play has been pretty good. There's been pretty nice output for him in the conference at bats that he's had. So he's got to be a big piece of our team down the stretch here.
With Mule just right now, how much of a luxury is it to have a feasible replacement at third, like Wolford?
Well, losing players is not a luxury involved in anything. You build a roster over time to prepare for, hopefully, the grind of a long season. Aiden missed the entire fall with injuries himself, so Tyler emerged. So it's tough, guys. I mean, like I said, you want to see me have a ruined day, have one of your players get hurt. It is a gut punch because you're with these kids every day, and the joy they feel when they play is uplifting, and when they're hurt, man, it sucks. It's tough. So thankfully, all the kids are working hard. Thankfully, all the kids are available to step up when asked for the team. That's all I can tell you. I mean, it's a part of a competitive season that you just have to endure when it happens. But Tyler was recruited as a multi-position hitter, third base, outfield, hitter, ball player, and he's going to fill that role, just like Aiden was same, ball player. Guys that.
How about them Cowboys? I'm the baby coach.
You get that? That's better than I have. That's great.
So,
That's great.
you've talked about Nolan's maturity for being a freshman in particular. Were you at all wondering what you're going to get out of him in that situation, or did you?
Just now?
Yeah.
No, I knew. I can't say I know all the time. I knew there. I knew it would be under control. I knew it would be present. I knew it would be in the moment. I knew they'd have to make a perfect pitch. And when they didn't quite get the perfect pitch thrown, I knew he'd come through. Like I said, he's just, well, I forget I was on the radio. You weren't up there. I just said this to Rex. Just some kids have an ability just to have a good feel for what they're doing and an ability to stay within themselves, and he does that. He stays with himself, It'd be real stinking easy at 6'6" to overswing. And he has just a discipline to stay bat to ball. I think his dad did a great job in the backyard growing up, ingraining that in him.
Looking at, with kind of just, you had two Stillwater kids pitched today, did really well, and of course pitched over the weekend. Kind of, what was that like for Isaac Stevens, even, who here on his, basically, there's other Stillwater fans out there not wearing orange, but they're wearing Stillwater, and they're there cheering him on. Kind of, what was that moment like, as a coach, to see a guy just move up another level and still perform in front of his hometown?
It's awesome. Stillwater High, maybe I'm biased, but it's okay. I'm a proud pioneer, and the number of kids from Stillwater High School that have been great contributors to our program, but also the amazing character of both Isaac and Drew as people. They are wonderful kids. They're incredibly low maintenance. The thing you can't see in Isaac that we get to see is 3 hours before the game, he's the first pitcher on the field helping set up for BP. He's always looking to contribute. He's always picking somebody up. He always has energy for the team, and then as a result, the team has grown to believe in him in ways that's allowing him to do special things. And he's a great story. He went to junior college and made himself into a low three-quarter to sidearm pitcher. He became a junior college All-American. His work ethic, his strength, his discipline, he's a very awesome story. And Drew Blake a year ago was redshirting and learning from the side, and now he's inserted himself as a very unique reliever who started out doing a great job for us, getting lefties out. Then he got some extended looks with righties, and now he's pitching with supreme confidence. And another Stillwater kid who comes from an amazing family of people. The Blakes are as good as they get. I knew that. I grew up with his dad, one of my best friends for the last 30 some odd years. So I knew he'd be a high character individual that wasn't afraid. And again, I think the work those two did in the fall, with Coach Walton. They're both very different pitchers now than when they got here. They've both made great strides, and so it's really rewarding to see today's performance and to this point for kids that have put everything they got into the work and are coachable. And pretty damn cool for two kids from Stellar High School to have an impact on our team.
You had kind of talked about Blake a little bit in your opening statement, but how crucial were those 4 innings that he gave you guys today?
Unbelievable. I think he threw, 2 or 3 on Friday?
Yeah.
I'm talking about a reliever that hangs 6 or 7 zeros across the weekend against University of Texas, who, after seeing them in person, they're very good. They're very good. So, it's outstanding. And the superlatives. I think outstanding is the best one I got.
Last question.
I'll be happy to answer all your questions. You can ask them on good days like today.
I was, and that's kind of where this one is. I'll save it a little for last. With respect to the defense and the pitching you guys have done over this weekend, but even going back to really just kind of this weekend, the offensive output going back to the Dallas Baptist game has kind of been a little stagnant as far as leaving guys on base, and that seems to be the biggest issue. So how do you kind of get back, and I know you guys have said it's a tough standard for yourself in scoring per game, but how do you kind of get back up to a high scoring margin per game and avoid the close ones as much?
Well, certain fundamental pieces of hitting, got to stay on the ball and use the whole field. I think at times we've hit around the ball a little too much, hit the right pitch. At times we swung at pitches out of the zone. The other team's pitchers at times have something to do with it. I mean, you can't fail to recognize that 2 or 3 of the kids that pitched against us were among the top 3 in the conference in hits per innings given up and batting average against. I mean, Gordon and Hurley, those dudes are really good. So sometimes you run into a pitcher who's good, and the percentages say good pitching will slow you down. So part of it's your opponent. A little bit of fatigue I sense at times. You're gonna have to stay fresh, a little fatigue. It's part of the season, but it's real. I mean, if you wake up and you're not feeling your best, you're not gonna go out and run quite as crisp as you do on the other days, right? I don't know if you run, but I sure as hell don't. But that's an example.
No, sir, I don't.
Point is, some days you're fresh and you've got some bounce and you're at your peak. Some days you're a little heavy and you got to find ways to move efficiently even though you don't feel it quite as fast. So all those things happen. And I would say the week that we just took on was a super challenging week. We made it through it 2-2 and won on a walk-off right here. So again, that's a compliment to our kids. It was a tough week.
A quick one. Any updates on Nolan McLean?